Hi there, hello, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to reading Machiavelli's Discourses. We're still in Book 1. Today we're looking at chapter 28 of Book 1. Continuing still on the question, this is the question last time we did the question of how difficult it is to be completely wicked or completely good. Today the topic is for what cause the Romans, for what cause or what reason the Romans were less ungrateful towards their citizens than the Athenians. In other words, why were the Romans less ungrateful than the Athenians were? The perception of the sentence is that the history always reminds us the Athens kind of like didn't like their leaders or their political leaders, their citizens, the people who took active role. And there was always a kind of they always turned on them. The argument was this is the classical criticism of Athens, right? But the Romans were less this. And he wants to talk about this. So let's go into this. Whoever reads of the things done by republics will find in all of them some species of ingratitude towards their citizens. But he will find less of it in Rome than in Athens, and perhaps than in any other republic or any other city. Now, this is, in other words, this is a Machiavelli has a poem of ingratitude, and versus a poem that Machiavelli wrote, and this is part of his writings, which we don't have all the things. I think that there is a translation of it in Love and Lust in Machiavelli, a collection of his poetry that's out of print now, I think. And I don't think there's been a good edition of the poem, so this is interesting. So he's saying that the example of Rome is that it's better than Athens. Right? Athens, it was highest, but Rome was a little better. Searching for the causes of this, speaking of Rome and Athens, I believe it happened because the Romans had less cause than the Athenians for suspecting their citizens. In other words, he's going to suggest that there's less partisan, even though the tension between the plebs and the Senate class were big. In Athens, there was greater suspicion because there was something going on here. Now he goes, they had less cause. For in Rome, as one reasons about it from the expulsions of the kings until Sulla and Marius, in other words, until Sulla and Marius and this, freedom was never taken away by any of its citizens, so that there was no great cause for suspecting them, and in consequence for offending them inconsiderably. Now, I have to object here because this avoids the whole. This avoids a lot. He's whitewashing Rome. This avoids the story of the December verse, the 10 men who were established to establish the laws and the tyranny, and that they gave all power to them and they ruled tyrannically. Then and it required the case of the death of Virginia by her father to prevent his father, one of the Decemvirers, to taking her claimed that she was his slave. She was a slave and it belonged to him, and he was going to do what he wanted with her. And instead of letting her be taken and to be dishonored, the father used his right of power over his daughter to kill her. Right. This was the famous case of liberty in Rome. It led to the removal of the Decemvirers and the restoration of liberty. This happens before Sulla. The murdering of the rise of the land reformers, the Gracchi, again, similarly, ignored here. This idea that there's no real problems until Sulla and Marius, but freedom was never taken away by any of its citizens, You can kill them, yes, but not taken away, so that there was no great cause for suspecting them, and in consequence for offending them inconsiderably. The very contrary happened in Athens, when freedom had long been taken away from it by Pistuus. Again, this is interesting. There was that. In other words, that's Solon established it, but Pistulus came into power and became a tyrant and ruled for a time. And it took the Spartans coming to remove his successor. In other words, Pistulus was a tyrant, and its most flourishing time and under a deception of goodness. For as soon as it became free and recalled the injuries and received and past servitude, it became a very prompt avenger, not only of the errors, but also the shadow of errors in its citizens. In other words, after that, the idea that someone's going to take the power of the city, hence the ostracizing and things like this that came up in that sense, the constant ostracizing of citizens that happened in Athens. There was this argument. There's rarely a case of ostracization in Sparta, in Athens. Well, but then Coriolanus. Then what about Coriolanus? In other words, he's making a case for Rome is better than Athens. But it's kind of deceptive here. He's doing something deceptive. Hence arose the exiles and the death of so many excellent men. Okay, hence the order of ostracism and every other violence that was done against the aristocrats in various times by that city. Right, the idea of the conflict and the rise of the constant turning of power of this. The siding with outside forces, what these writers on civility says is very true, that people bite more fiercely after they have recovered their freedom than after they have saved it, right? In other words, here this is Cicero's De Officiis, Part 2, section, book 2, 7, line 24, right? Chapter 7 and 24, right? And paragraph 24. And see what else is Florentine Histories, book 2 and chapter 37, or section, chapter 37, yes. So, in other words, the idea that using Cicero, the authority of Cicero, and it's also his own history, that the people, if they save it, they're less vicious. They're not going to bite more fiercely. They bite more fiercely after they lost it. Okay. Whoever considers then how much has been said will neither blame the Athenians nor praise the Romans. So given what's happened, they won't. Pardon. They won't blame the Romans, or they won't they won't blame the Athenians, or praise the Romans, but will accuse only necessity, because of the diversity of accidents that arose in these cities. So in other words, it's the diversity of accidents. You shouldn't praise Athens, what happened, the Athenians for what happened, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't praise the Romans, and you shouldn't blame the Athenians. Why? Because it was just the occasions, the accidents, different situations, the different situations. So you should blame instead. Other words, but accuse only necessity, because of the diversity of accidents that arose in these cities. For whomever consider things subtly will see for himself that if freedom had been taken away in Rome, as in Athens, Rome would not have been more merciful towards the citizens than the latter was. So if they had the similar circumstances, in other words, what Athens did makes sense given what happened what and Rome probably, if what happened in Athens happened in Rome, after the kings right away, a king, someone who restored the king's power early, they would have had the same hostility. Right? One can make a very true conjecture about this because of what happened to Camtilius. Right, this is the famous case, Livy, Book 2, and the other case, Publius Valerius, after the expulsion of the kings. In other words, these two men were kind of pushed out because of that. Right? The first of them was sent into exile for no cause other than he bore the name of the Tarquins, even though he had been found to have freed Rome. In other words, he, Camillus, I think he's the husband of, he might actually be the husband of Lucretia, right? The story of Lucretia, the rape. The Tarquin son rapes Lucretia, and that this is the occasion, her revealing the rape and killing herself publicly, was the occasion that Brutus used to get the peoples to throw the kings off, right? Now, her husband came back and supported Brutus and led with Brutus the wars against this. So he helped free Rome, right? But he was then exiled because why? His name was he had the name of Tarquin, even though he had been the other was also given was also on the point of being made an exile only for having given suspicion of himself by building a house on the Capitoline Hill. In other words, he put a house on the hill of Capitoline. The idea that people then became so. The first case, Publius Valerius, that he became under suspicion of making himself king when he he started building his house on the Capitoline Hill. So seeing how far Rome was suspicious and severe with these two, one can reckon that it would have made use of the ingratitude as the Athenians had if, like the latter, it had been injured by its citizen in the early times and before the increase. So as not to have to return to this matter of ingratitude, I will say what will be needed about it in the following chapter. So the next chapter, he will deal with the question of ingratitude. So he's gonna continue this question. The question of the ingratitude will be addressed in the next chapter. But this question of why this happens, it happens because of the problem. In other words, the reason why the Athenians behaved differently was the events, occasions. Now, if you have any comments or questions, please put them below, and I will see them when I see them, and I'll respond to them. If you have any comments, questions, or issues, please put them there. Again, all interactions help the algorithm in that sense. If you liked the video, hit the like button. Hitting the like button helps, again, the people to get more attention to the video. If you like the video, also share it far and wide. Share it on your social media. Share it to your friends. And if you have not subscribed already, please subscribe. Why all these things matter because, encourage your friends to come check out the channel and check out the different videos I've already done in the different series on the playlist. Go check the playlists out, and you'll see maybe something else that you might be interested in that we covered already. But this is, again, doing any of these things, liking, sharing, commenting, and all of this, and subscribing, all helps the algorithm and get more attention when someone's searching something here, that they'll find these videos. Another thing you can do is if you didn't like the video, you can always thumbs down it. Hit the thumbs down. But say why in the comments. Why you didn't like it in the comments. Again, this allows people to learn and benefit from it. Now, another thing, if you want to know more about me, can you follow me on social media? That's one thing, but see the links below. If you want to know more about me as a scholar and a researcher and check out my scholarship and things like that, you can check the academic social media beneath the social media links. And last but not least, if you want to help me to do what I do a little bit, you want to contribute financially in that sense, you can do so through Patreon or Subscribestar. Because I don't have enough people to get we're not big enough, or people not the watch time. I think a lot of people just watch it and they catch some things and they say, okay. The next thing is that we need more, don't even have super chats or things like that. But regardless of what you can do so help in this way through buying, like I said, Subscribestar, Patreon, or through buying one of my books listed below. You can do so through the publisher themselves. You can order it to your local bookstore or online distributor, one of the various ones like Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Well, that's it. We will see next time. We'll look at chapter 28. I think 28, 29. We'll see what happens. Take care. Bye-bye. Have a good day.